You're me.
You are the sea, and I love you so. You help me see you in all, to see you in me. I'm in you and you're in me. I'm in you and you're in me. The branches of a tree, they may be many.
Now, here's a little story I got to tell.
Giving you a taste of heaven with episode number 47. This is Giants Amongst Us. It's a place where we share in the unique human experience, and this is also where you're going to hear real stories that are told by real people, relatable ones, minus all of the Hollywood flicker. This is about ordinary folks, if you want to call them that, doing extraordinary things. And what do I mean by extraordinary? Extraordinary is someone who took it upon themselves to take accountability and responsibility for their life's experiences. They've transcended struggles. They overcome setbacks and challenges. It looks different for each one of these individuals I've had the privilege with connecting with. And if this is your first time tuning in right now, maybe you're in the dumps, maybe you feel as if your life has no meaning, it has no value, it has no purpose. Believe you me, you're not the only one. I've been there. Every one of the guests on the show has been there. But be reminded of the fact that you do have value, that you do have worth, and let these stories remind you of that fact. May they even inspire you, encourage you to start looking within yourself and seeing the richness, the infinite potential that you have, the untapped well of resources that we all have within ourselves. So welcome to the show. Kick your feet up, where you can find more stories, you can find more experiences, you can listen to more Giants Amongst Us at giantsamongstus.org. That is giantsamongstus.org. We have blogs put up. The website is updated on a bi-weekly basis. There's ways to get in contact with us, to reach out to us, to share your thoughts, to give some feedback. And if you find value in what we're doing, if you appreciate the words and the experiences, the journeys that have been shared, one thing you can do, free of charge, it's not going to cost you a dime, just a few minutes of your time. You can write out a review, share your thoughts on the show, anything in particular that struck out or hit a chord with you. And another thing you can do is you can leave a rating. Give it a star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever you feel is fit. And it's going to do 2 things. One thing, it's going to help this show fall on the ears of new listeners. Another thing is it's going to help us on the back end. Create something that has value, create something that's meaningful, create a wonderful listening experience for everybody who happens to catch this on the other end. This week is a 2-for-1 type of week, 2-for-1 output. There was an episode and a conversation just dropped with Gabriel. So be sure, if you're into U.S. expat taxation laws, if you're curious or have no idea about it, about the fact that the United States is one of the only major countries in the world that double taxes its citizens, meaning that if you are born in the U.S. and decide to move for whatever reason and live abroad, you're still obligated to file taxes with the U.S. Now, things are being pushed and moved along to help fix that and reform that. Gabriel talks a lot about it, so if you're interested or if you know someone who might be interested in that type of information, be sure to visit that episode after you finish today's conversation. We're going to go on a different route today. We're taking a spiritual journey, and it's going to be a good one. So thank you for inviting us into your homes or taking us with you as you do whatever it is you do while listening to this conversation. Today, Stephanie joins us, and she's got a story to tell.
My parents, they didn't know what love is. We'll put it that way. And I actually ran away when I was 4 or 5. I was very, very connected, and I've always been very connected to Source. And I walked around barefoot as a child and basically lived outside, like I was telling you. And I remember marching down the road towards the stop sign and being like, I'm meant for far greater things. I am meant for something much, much bigger than this. How are these people going to lead me there? I don't understand. And no matter the circumstances that I grew up with, I was ostracized at school. I was made fun of at school. I was made fun of. I got a job at 15. I was made fun of at my workplace. I was hazed at my workplace. Like, there really has rarely been a place where I have fit in.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this is Stephanie and her story. I'm happy to have you here. This is one of the highlights of my day. I always say just connecting with people and hearing what molded, shaped, quaked, and turned them from the inside out to be the people that they are today. So thank you again for taking time out of your day. You could have been doing anything. You could have been anywhere, but here we are having a sit down. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, my friend. It is an honor and a pleasure. I hope that our conversation today flows as it already has and inspires as many people as possible. So thank you for this opportunity and for the ripple effect I know we will have.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, we did. We were shooting the breeze and we were like, okay, let's go ahead and let's just get this party started. Why not? You're having a great ride and a great experience right now. You moved locations, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later in the conversation. But just for starters, do you mind giving us a bird's eye view? We don't have to get into too many of the specifics if you don't want to, but just sharing a bit of where you come from and how it was for you growing up.
Sure. So, I feel like I need to say my name again. So my name is Stephanie. We're rolling with this, Richard. And I'm from, I feel like we're in an interview now. I actually was born, and I was actually born in Charleston, South Carolina, where I have some beautiful, beautiful memories of going to the ocean almost every day. I survived Hurricane Hugo, and shortly after that, my parents dragged me up north against my will, where I spent most of my growing up days, which was just as well. I grew up with my great-grandfather, who is a grape farmer and an apple farmer, and it was a super way to grow up. My father and I always were growing food. I always had like a connection with plants and Mother Nature. I was always in a tree.
Okay. That was one of those things where it was garden to table.
Yeah. Listen,
that tastes so much different. My goodness.
For sure, because there's love.
Salads, everything.
There's love in those seeds. So I'll never forget the first time I tried beets. My dad grew them in the South, which was a little bit hard to do in that soil and that climate particularly, but he was like, I really want beets. And so he made it work. And those beets, I still remember, like, I think I was 4, maybe 5. And he was so excited. He's like, okay, girls, we're going to try beets today. And we're like, okay, cool. Like, we just love food. We eat everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were so good. And I've never had a better beet in my life. Can't beat that beet.
Those beets really beat the hell out of the rest.
That's right. It's a high bar.
That was you coming up, your hands in the soil. You were growing.
Yeah. Always in a tree, always talking to nature, always outside, always looking at the stars, always in the water. Like, wherever and however I could be outside, I was. And that's really important.
Did you have animals too on that farm?
No. So
chickens
we
or
didn't.
Anything?
No. It was just apples and grapes. And then
got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then the food that my grandpa let us have, like a patch of land, and then so whatever we grew. And my favorite thing to do, my dad would send us up, like, it was like a mile and a half up the road from our house, and he'd send my sister and I up on bikes and be like, all right, you girls, go pick some peas and beans for dinner and then bring them back. And fresh peas and beans off the vine are so good. And so sometimes I think my dad just like wanted to just get rid of us, because we wouldn't always come back with the beans or the peas because we would have eaten them all. But by the time we got that.
Yeah. But you taste the difference now, especially you coming from where you're coming from and having access to this. And then when you go to a grocery store and you shop, and get
Mm-hmm.
something from you get an apple
Yeah.
from the grocery store. Sometimes it tastes just like water.
It's just not as good. It's just not as good. The crunch isn't there, the taste isn't there, like it's just not the same, which is okay, it's okay. But I think that, something that's very important to me in creating the rest of my life, which is what I'm in the throes of doing at the moment, and undoing what I've known, and undoing my attachment to what society has told me is cool, is to be able to farm. And that's almost a bit of anarchy these days, like it's an act of resistance to grow your own food in your backyard, to know how to cultivate food from a seed. And let's do it. Like, I encourage you to be a freaking anarchist, because it is really necessary. And hot tip, hot tip, seeds, seeds are really cool. And I learned this from a friend who read this from a book, and I don't know the book. I call myself the absent-minded professor, so I'll quote a bunch of things, and I'll never really remember where they're from, and I might quote them wrong.
Yeah,
But
can't
yeah,
tell
yeah,
you
yeah.
the
But here you
source.
go.
Yeah.
This is a fact. If you are going to grow your own food to nourish your own body, it is imperative for you to spit on the seed before you plant it. Because what this is going to do is it's going to exchange the energy with the seed, and it is going to know exactly what you need. It's going to know exactly what your body needs, so that when you finally eat that, guava or mango or avocado or whatever it is that you're growing, like I'm in the jungle here, but whatever it is you're growing, it is going to be so nourishing and healing for your body. So, like, be an anarchist and also spit on your seeds. It's really important.
Man,
Isn't that cool?
that's funny that you say that, because I don't know if it has a relation to it, but that just reminds me of my wife and I. We were in the city today, and we took a walk, and she was telling me about, say, a woman when they're breastfeeding,
Uh-huh.
that the body is producing certain chemicals, nutrients, vitamins,
Yep.
proteins that the baby needs at that
Yep.
point in time. So it's like the
Yep.
body, the innate nature of a woman knows what to create and produce to help nourish this child. And then when you say that with spitting on the seed and
Yeah.
the synergistic, if I'm
Yeah.
saying it right,
You
but
are.
just creating, yeah, creating that likewise environment. That just I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but that just reminded me of the conversation we had earlier.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all connected. Yeah, I breastfed my son eons ago now, and I would notice that it would change, like the texture and the smell and the taste would change, as he was growing. And of course my diet did have something to do with it, but I also remember, like, my I felt like my body was driven to eat certain things, to consume certain things based on what his needs were. And I
Mm,
would, like, eat certain things, and there would, like, he would have a reaction and I would have a reaction, and it would be like, oh, okay, like, we don't like that.
yeah,
Like, we don't need that. We're gonna use something different. So I really do enjoy, how connected we are. And I think I think so many people forget how connected we are, because it's so easy to. It's so easy to, when you don't go into nature, and you don't put your bare feet on the ground, and you don't, go hug a tree, which seems absolute, like, silliness, but it isn't. But if you don't go and do these things on a daily basis and breathe the air that is outside, you are disconnecting from your truest self. You are disconnecting from your highest self. And so, like, it's so easy to forget, because we get into these routines, and we get comfortable with our walls and our air conditioning and our heating, and that's cool. Like, we worked for those, we created those, and that's cool and all. But if you don't have that balance, it's really, really easy to forget where you came from, and it's really easy to get disconnected from your soul. And yeah, the best medicine is to go outside.
right. No, right on. So you had this at a early age, and is it safe to say, even through your those trying years when you start becoming an adolescent and moving through your teenage years, and then you have the pressures. I don't know, depending on where you grew up, but you have the pressures sometimes of wanting to fit in, not wanting to be different. Some people, they stand on their, they stand on their flag, and it doesn't make them, shake them, or break them. They're willing to just march to their own drum beat. But how was it for you?
I actually had a really tough life. My parents they didn't know what love is. We'll put it that way. And I actually ran away, when I was 4 or 5.
4 or 5, you ran away.
Yeah, because
Whoa.
I made it, I mean, like into the neighborhood. I ran away a couple times. The first time my mother made fun of me and she said, "Oh, you didn't remember." Her reaction was to make fun of me, not like, "Oh, that's pretty concerning," you know? Like that was her reaction. So that tells you a lot. And she's like, "Oh, you didn't bring a snack or any underwear." She was making fun of me. And so I was like, "Oh, thank you for the hot tip. I'm gonna do that the next time."
Mm,
And I remember I was so very connected, and this was such a profound experience for me. It's like ingrained in my brain. I was very, very connected, and I've always been very connected to source. And I walked around barefoot as a child and basically lived outside, like I was telling you. And I remember like marching down the road towards the stop sign and being like, I'm meant for far greater things. I am meant for something much, much bigger than this. How are these people going to lead me there? I don't understand. And I made it to a friend's house, and I remember thinking, oh, this feels like love. This feels like home. I'm gonna stay here. I'm just gonna move here. We're just gonna live here, and this will get me where I need to go. My mother picked me up. I was never allowed to see that friend again. And
and and this is 4 or 5 years old at the
yeah,
time,
yeah,
like you said.
yeah, I was just a
Wow.
little kid. And I remember that my connection, like with Source, went dark. And what followed was very dark in my life. There's a lot of my life I don't remember. It was all of the abuse, all of it, all of the definitions.
Yeah.
It's all happened in my home. And I made this promise to myself when I turned 14 that I would always get bitter or always get better, not bitter. So get better, not bitter was like my mantra, like to get me through this. Like, yeah, people can try to take your life, people can try to harm you, and they do, and they do. But it is up to you to decide whether or not you want to persevere and prevail, like and the person that you are. And it was so important to me to have integrity to the person that I am, which is a compassionate, kind-hearted person. And no matter the circumstances that I grew up with, I was ostracized at school. I was made fun of at school. I was made fun of. I got a job at 15. I was made fun of at my workplace. I was hazed at my workplace. Like there really has rarely been a place where I have fit in. And for a long time, I did try to fit in because I thought that would make it easier. But what I understood was that the more that I tried to fit in, the harder my life got, the more uncomfortable things got, and I had to sort of reclaim myself. And so it took until I was 35 to reclaim myself. My ex-husband was abusive. I had another relationship after I left him that was abusive. But yeah, so this the last relationship I was in was probably the worst relationship. I was in it for 8 years, kind of on and off, and he broke bones and did some unimaginable things. And I am grateful. I know, like might sound wild, but I'm actually grateful that he broke my shoulder for the second time because I had been suffering for about 10 years in a lot of pain. I wasn't able to walk. I was like using wheelchairs and walkers, and my medical advice was that it was psychosomatic. And I was like, what is that? Like, okay, well, I'll heal. I'll go to therapy. I was in therapy forever and ever, right? I was like, I'll make it through as I'm getting abused. Like, I can do this. And because he broke my shoulder, I was able to discover that my spine was closing in on itself. And that very shortly, if I didn't get surgery, I would be paralyzed from the waist down. And it would be a definite thing. And so I found this out in April. They got me rushed to an MRI. And then from there, they put me at the closest spot they could from that to get surgery. And so going into this surgery, I was very much alone. I didn't have any friends. None of my family really talked to me besides my grandmother. I'd cut my parents off, and somehow that meant I lost everybody too. Nobody really checked up on me, and I woke up paralyzed. I was supposed to actually go in and out, which is insane because with cervical spinal stenosis, just for funsies. What happens is I've got a scar on my neck. So they can go in one of two ways, in the front or the back. But essentially, they like carve out your spinal canal so that your nerves have room to breathe, so that you don't, so things keep working. And then they placed a piece of metal in my neck as well to keep that from happening again. But it's inevitable; it'll happen again. I'll probably have to get another surgery. But I woke up paralyzed and basically alone, and it was really hard. That was really, really hard. But it was through that I was able to gather the strength to leave my abusive relationship once and for all. And it took me I think it took me like less than 3 weeks, because I am a stubborn person. And I was like, I am not going to be paralyzed. Forget that nonsense. Like I'm so lucky that I found this. I'm going to heal, whatever. So I worked really, really hard. I got myself out. It took me about 6 months to recover and fully. And my ex and I went on a road trip out to Utah to see some friends we hadn't seen since college. And I was really excited. I was really excited to see her and meet her boo and, like just be cool. And when we were there, she was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, what is happening? And I was like, yeah, it's really rough. And she's like, well, if you need a place to stay, you can stay here and get, figure it out, like if you need to. Mind you, this is Utah. I live in New York. Okay. So I
So
decided
she's seen from the outside, in
it
the
was
way that
obvious.
the dynamics is working, you and your ex.
Yeah. Yeah. He cheated on me the whole time we were together as well. Like it was just a lot.
So even around people, it wasn't one of those things where it was behind closed doors, when no one's looking. It was even around people where he was pretty obnoxious with it.
Yeah, he was comfortable enough around this particular person to be like this. And what it was about was my house plants. He was like telling me I had to get he would like love to tell me if I had any happiness, he would take it from me. And I just was like loving pouring into these house plants that I had. I
Wow.
was blooming this one, it's called Calancho, and it was like blooming it was beautiful. And there's this other one, and sometimes houseplants get gnats and bugs, and that's a treatable thing. You just change the soil pretty much and spray some stuff. It wasn't a big deal, but he's like, you have to get rid of them. And I was just like, I started crying because I was like, that's the only happiness I have right now. Like I'm still recovering from the surgery, and
Yeah.
it was really the only thing I had to focus on with these plants. And she could see that it was just really weird. And so when it came time to go, this is like the same day she said this. And when it came time to go, he like disappeared. I don't know where he went. He just disappeared for a couple of hours, and then he came back with a car, and it was time for us to go. And I got in the car, and he like had got me a drink, and I picked it up, and things were good for like 3 seconds. And we like made it 600 feet to a stop sign, and he starts screaming at me, and and he had screamed at me almost the entire way to Utah. And I was just like, I'm not doing this, like I'm not doing this. So I got out of the car with my coat and my cell phone, nothing else. And I closed the door and I let him drive away, and I didn't reach out to him. And I was just like, he left with my medication, he left with my clothes, he left with everything. I didn't have a job at the time because every job I ever had, he took from me. And which is very common, in these types of relationships. You have to make somebody dependent upon you. And I had to allow all of this to happen. Like I had to sit with what that meant for me as well. I had to allow all this to happen. I had to allow myself to be treated this way. And so I spent about 3 weeks there, and I had to move back because I had a dog, and no one that I knew, because I had very few friends back home, no one that I knew was cool with having dogs because they had cats. So I was like, okay. So I had to live with him for a few months. I took a small amount of mushrooms. I think it was like 1.5 grams of mushrooms. So not like a big trip, but just a little bit. And I remember having this beautiful vision. And I wrote this beautiful poem too. And so I'm like at my house with my abuser. Like it's a 3-bedroom apartment. It's huge. He's like relegated to his bedroom, and I get the rest of the apartment. It was I staked my claim, but it was pretty badass. I felt pretty badass, not gonna lie. And
As you should.
Yeah. So like I had gotten a job before. I had found like an online job, like nothing that I knew was gonna last, but just something, that I could just, it's like a churn and burn type thing, but something I could like,
To hold you over.
yeah, just to like get me some money. And so in this vision that I had, I was in this blue dress and I had this little sun hat on, which is like quite similar to a sun hat that I currently own. And in the poem, I wrote planting this old me, and I had planted a pile of stones and was letting go of that part of me. And after that moment, the blinders were gone. Like I could fully see through him. I didn't have any attachment. And I was like, I need to go somewhere where I can recover. I need to go somewhere as far away from possible, because I also understood, if you don't know this, in domestic violence relationships, it takes an average of 7 to 9 times to leave a domestic violence relationship. That's a lot of times. It's a lot of times to risk your life. And this person had literally said to me, I'm gonna have to kill you. It's gonna be all your fault. And
Wow.
he said this multiple times. I'm going to have to kill you. It's going to be all your fault. And people are gonna blame me because they just don't know how shitty you are. Something like that, like variations of this over and over again. And so like leaving was a risk, like staying was a
Wow.
risk, like I was at the point where I was just living every day, hoping for death. And that's just not living, is it? That's just not living. And so after this trip, I decided that I needed to find somewhere as far away as possible. And I was choosing Charleston or somewhere out west. But I figured Charleston would be too close because I absolutely love to drive. And I knew that I had already left one time. I had moved to Syracuse, which from Rochester is like an hour and a half, so not that far. And I went back after 8 months. So I knew that I had to get further than that. And I had a son who was 14 at the time. So this decision was not easy. This decision was not easy. But I knew that if I wanted to be an example, if I wanted to be a better mother, if I wanted to take my life back, I had to do this. So I randomly chose Santa Barbara. I don't know how Santa Barbara, California came to me. I can't remember, but it came to me. I didn't know what I didn't
Oh,
know. I'd
wow.
never been that
Okay.
far west.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
originally
okay, yeah.
from
So Santa Barbara
California,
is
so
just
yeah.
a dream.
Yes, we used to go camping there when we
Yeah.
were kids. We went camping once a year over there
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Santa
yeah.
Barbara. They have some beautiful beaches.
Oh, so I thought I was on vacation every day there. Like I lived in paradise, and I was, like sharing. I was a roommate with like two other people because it's so expensive.
And that is on the other side of the map,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah, yeah,
it?
yeah. Yeah. And the first night I drove into, well, first of all, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was like, I'll get an apartment from here. I got an apartment within a week, which is apparently impossible to do. Like while I was living there when I needed to move, it was really difficult for me to find a place. Like you have to know a person to get a place. And so I didn't know what I didn't know, but it was meant to be. It lined up perfectly. I chose it within a week. I had a place. And within a couple of weeks, I drove into the night with my dog and with whatever I could fit in my car, whatever I could fit in my car. And I drove 16 hours because I was like, I don't know if he's gonna follow me. I don't know, like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I don't know. Because we had a Ring doorbell, so he could see that I left. He could see that I was packing the car, like he could see he was at work. But he could see what I was doing. And I was just like, if he's gonna follow me, like I gotta get as far away as I can. So I just drove straight. It was 8 o'clock at night, and I drove 16 hours. Like I stopped for gas and the facilities and just kept fucking going. I just chugged coffee because I was like, yeah, I was like,
Dang.
I have to get as far away as I possibly can. Like I'm not gonna allow this to happen. Like I'm not.
You probably had you didn't just need the caffeine, but it probably was that adrenaline running through you, everything that kept you on,
Yeah,
laser
for
focused on
sure.
the prize, and
For sure.
I'm
I made
out.
it. Yeah, for sure. I made it to Omaha, like Nebraska. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was my first stop from Rochester, New York, which is like a long way. And so
So
the
what are we
next,
talking? Like 8 hours, 9 hours or something?
that's 16 hours, dude. That's 16 hours.
16 hours.
Yeah, yeah. I
Wow.
was serious. I was serious. I was like, my dog was so pissed. She's like, what's going on? She was shaking. She was nervous. Like, she didn't know what was going on. We left her sister. Like, I
But you
had to
made
leave the
it.
dog behind. Yeah, but I made it. And then I got up the next day and my credit card wasn't working. And I was freaking out because, like, I had to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was at the gas station and like I had to call the bank and it turned out it was just because I was in Omaha and I was like, "Oh my God, no, I'm like please know that I'm moving across the country. Please stop putting a hold on my card." Like, "Cool, thank you." But like I had a panic attack and I was like, "Oh my God, what if he like messed with my bank? Like what is happening? What if I don't have any money? Like I thought I had some money, what if I don't?" And like I'm working as well, so like I had pulled over and I had to work before I could leave. So like I'm like working on the road and not taking any time off. Like I'm literally like trying to do all the things just so I can get across the country. So I made it across the country in 3.5 days and moved into where I was moving in. And I decided that I was going to take a year to heal. I was like, all right, I'm going to take a year to heal. And then either my son's going to move out here for 11th and 12th grade, or I'm going to have to go back to Rochester, which I really didn't want to go back to Rochester. So when I tell you that I was guided, I was guided. Okay. I have always been connected, but I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't really ever like tune in or tap in or understand this, what this meant or what I could do with this or anything like that. We're always all connected. We just don't know, right? Everybody can do this. But I didn't know. And I just remember like hearing, okay, first you're going to heal this. I was like, okay. So I worked on that. I got an EMDR therapist on my way to California. I made like as many calls as I could. Got an appointment with the first one I could. Of course, insurance didn't cover it, and I had to pay out of pocket, but it didn't matter. It was like $175 a week, and I made that work because my healing was the most important thing. That was the whole point of this whole journey, and I had to stay in integrity to that. And so, like as I was healing things, the next thing would come. They're like, "Okay, you're doing great. Now you're gonna wrap this one up and this is what's coming next." And I'd be like, okay. And I would just like, I like ready myself for this next healing. And I would work with my therapist every week. I don't think I skipped more than 1 or 2 weeks. Meanwhile, like I got a new job while I was there. I was making a bunch of money. Like I was growing in the community and, they were going okay. Like it was bumpy. Like I wasn't able to stay where I was living because there was somebody who was not a healed person and like that was not cool for my nervous system because I was like coming out of it and I was like, I don't like to live like this. He's like, well, you don't have to live here. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's the best option, but like shit. Now what do I do? Because I really don't know that many people here. So I'd gone on a date, like a couple dates with this one guy. He's like, oh, you can live where I was living because he had to go take care of a ranch. And he's like, you can live where I was living. He's like a ranch dude. And like, I was like, okay, cool. And so I like lived in a tin can. There was no air conditioning. There was the power was run from the house. I was living in the mountains, which in Santa Barbara, which is really hot. It could get like up to 120 degrees up there. And
Uh-huh.
so, like, I was living in this little tin can. I was living in a camper that was like bare bones, and like I didn't have a mirror.
Tried and
Yeah, yeah,
tested.
for sure, for sure. I didn't have a mirror, and like I would giggle because I would like look like a mountain lady, and so like I would go down. I would take my dog and go 20 minutes down the mountain, and like I would catch myself because I would work from my favorite cafe out there is called the Lilac Patisserie, and just a shout out to them because I freaking love them, and they have gluten-free stuff, and I just love them. But anyways, I would go there most of the time at a couple of places. That was my favorite one. And I would work from there for a few hours just to beat the heat and take my dog down because so he didn't like die. And so I would catch a glimpse of myself as I would like park my car in the municipal parking and like walk in front of the shops. Like, oh my God, like that's what I look like. Like, Pigpen from the Peanuts.
Yeah.
Like I look
uh,
like a mountain woman. But those were cherished days. Those were cherished days. And
building some
so I spent
character
a
for
year doing
sure.
this. Yeah, yeah. And then like about I can't remember. So this I got there in April and then like October was coming up and I was like, I really want to live in a tiny home. I want to try it out. Everything lined up. Within a week, I was just like on a whim, was like, I want to do this. And within a week, I had like a tiny home that I was going to move to within a week, dude. Like this just kept happening. Things like I was just like, I want to do this. And then that would happen. Okay. So within a week it happened. It was up in Port Townsend in Washington State, which I'd never been to. And this is a peninsula that's a rainforest. And so I drove the coast, which if you ever get to drive the one, do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like make it a
That was
priority.
beautiful.
I
Yeah.
cried. Oh, I cried like all the way.
There's so many
Just because
stops
it was so
you
beautiful.
can just stop. If you
Hmm.
stop at every, and then they have
Hmm.
the turnouts where you can't stop. If you do that, you're never gonna make it all the way up.
Yeah, yeah, and it takes forever. Like they're like, oh, it only takes so long, but like it's windy. So on one, if you've never taken the one, like on one side it's a mountain, and on the other side it's the ocean, and it is just a long and windy road. And my
Did
dog
you
was
drive it during the day or at night?
I drove it mostly during the day. I tried to stop at night because I didn't really feel the most comfortable at night as a single
The
lady
winds are,
traveling. Yeah, like
yeah.
yeah, I was like, ah, nah. So I stopped in the redwoods. No,
Okay.
where did I stop first? What's it called? It starts with an M. It's up like
Men, not Mendocino,
no, no.
Monterey.
Yeah, Monterey, there you go. I stopped in Monterey and got a cinnamon bun and like got some gas and I was so tired, dude. And I like stayed there for like 4 hours because like, all right. And then I drove to San Francisco and stayed overnight. The funny part about San Francisco, I like hated San Francisco because it is like uphill and I thought my
Yeah,
car was
yeah.
gonna roll backwards. And even when I was staying in the hotel, like I was on an angle the whole night. It was so funny.
Yeah,
It was
it's
so funny.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I loved San Francisco because they had my favorite bakery in the like that I've tried yet. So it's Mariposa Bakery, and I just loved them. And so this whole trip, I was like bakeries and beaches. So like everywhere I went, I drove through. I picked out
B and
bakeries.
B.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
exactly.
not?
Bakeries and beaches. So like I pulled over as many beaches as possible, as many bakeries as possible. I took pictures of the dolphins. You know the dolphins, right?
Um,
You know the story about the
where
dolphins?
at? Which dolphins? Where?
The dolphin statues.
Oh no, I don't. Enlighten me.
So there are these dolphin statues all the way up the Pacific coast, starting in Puerta Vallarta, Mexico. And
Okay.
they go all the way up, I believe, to the tip of I forget this up. They go all the way up, and they're on so many beaches. And I took as many pictures as I could because I had already gotten the one in Puerto Vallarta before. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to take as many pictures of these dolphin statues as I can, and they're so cool. So like, if you do the coastal drive, like stop and see the dolphin statues. It's a whole connection to Mexico and the roots of California, and it's just really cool. It's just really cool. Yeah, yeah. It's really
Oh
cool.
man.
So,
Okay.
anyway, so I kept going and I got there and I lived there for 2 months. I lost power so many times. I was at a composting toilet. Like I was living in the rainforest in a tiny home. Okay. Like it was cold and my bones hurt. And so I was like, all right, I'm good. And I went to Mexico for a month. I first went back to Rochester for Christmas, then Mexico for a month. And then when I was in Mexico, sitting on the rooftop, this is when my whole life really, really changed. I got this message that I was going to have three career changes, one in March, one in October, and one in August.
Can I ask you, when you say you got the message, I'm just curious, did these messages come to you at just random moments or during meditation, or were you
No, no, I was working. I was literally working. The sun was setting and I had a remote job and I was just like, oh, I'm going to catch up on some work. And I was just working and then all of a sudden, boom, these messages started coming in. And this was when these messages and visions started picking up. Like this is the time in my life where these like
you had
my
your
connection was
antenna
really wide open.
to
Yeah, and
source?
it was not intentional. Yes, so I was I like to say voluntold. I was basically like voluntold that that I had to like change my life. I wasn't seeking this out at all. Like I was cool to do the normal track, even though it was, you know, I was cool to do this normal
And
track.
you said that you were in Mexico and you had three. Was it 3 points?
Three career shifts, and I was like, you guys, that's a lot.
Take it easy here.
I was like, that's extra, all right? That's extra. And so like in
Three
March, I
times a
got
charm.
the yeah, right. In March, I got the promotion and I got the money that came with it, and then I got the headaches and I cried, and it was just like not worth it. I had to move back to Rochester. And my son was like, I don't want to go back to I don't want to come to California. You got to come home. And I was like, fine. It had been a year. I did what I said. I'm coming back. And that was the beginning of the undoing of my life. Like that, like I'd already undone a lot, restarted. I've restarted so many times, like I haven't even said everything, but this is like, these are the major moments. Okay. And so I was like, okay, this is the beginning of the end again. As I'm so very good at this, very, very, very versed. And so I was like, okay. So I came back and I went back to Santa Barbara, like right near the end of August. They do this festival They do a rodeo and they do this festival. It's a Mexican celebration, and I can't remember the name of it. Ugh. Oh, I can't remember. Anyways, it's a beautiful thing, and it's basically a fiesta, and like you smash eggs with like confetti, and it's just this beautiful celebration, and I just love it. And so I went back to do a catering gig for my friend for a couple weekends to help him out work the rodeo and be a part of the celebration because I was working remotely. And on my flight back, this is 8/8, August 8th. On my flight back from Santa Barbara, I was the last one on the plane. And when I was like 17-ish or 18-ish, or I can't remember, like early on, like around the time my son was born, he was 20 when I was born. So around that time, so around like between 2006 and 2009, somewhere between there. I was listening to an artist called Brett Dennen, and I remember looking at this picture and I thought it was so weird. I looked at his picture, I was like, oh, I'm going to meet him one day. Just like, oh, my name is Stephanie, like, hey, I just said it just like that. And throughout the years, I've been like, that was so weird. Why did I say that? Like I said, it's like I knew it. Well, guess what? There he was. And he was sitting right next to me. I was like the last one on the plane, and I'm approaching my seat, and he has a bright red orange hair. Like you cannot mistake it. And I'm like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And he had to, like, his flight was missed. His flight got canceled. So he had to like miss a flight to be next to me. Like this was a divinity. Okay. And this is 8/8, which they call the Lionsgate portal, whatever. And I'm just like, still like, I'm receiving messages and downloads and stuff, but I'm still not like really tapping into the spiritual stuff. Like I'm still just like, like I'm getting it and I'm loving it, but like, I don't really know yet. And so
Yeah.
there he is. He's sitting next to me, and we talk the whole time. It's a beautiful talk. And one of the things I said, and one of the things I was realizing of what was happening in August is my career shift, is that it was a decision that I had to make. And the decision that I had to make was whether or not to continue with the corporate world or to continue with spiritual stuff. And I was told that, like by my guides, these messages, whatever, I was told that if I did not choose the spiritual world, that my connection would be closed. And I would be supported and I would be comfortable the rest of my life and I would succeed, but that I wouldn't be able to access these gifts as I had been accessing them. And it had been really intense and beautiful. And I was like, well, that's an easy decision. I'm going to choose spirituality. Like it wasn't even a question. And I was talking to him about this, and I was like, yeah, I'm at a crossroads. He goes, how do you know? And I didn't know how to explain, like, so like I get these messages, like I didn't know. I wasn't confident enough to have these conversations. But I was like, I just know, like I just know, like that little voice that tells you it's gonna rain today, you should bring your raincoat, and then you don't bring your raincoat, and then you get wet,
Hmm.
like that little voice.
Like an
That's kind of like what it
intuition,
is. But I couldn't really say that because
but more than that.
yeah. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know, man. I just know. Yeah, but way more than that. And so I chose. And then I was like, well, shit. Okay. So I made the choice. But now what? How do I quit my job? What do I do next? Like, what happens next? So 10 days pass. My boss is meeting with me, and he's just like, he makes it so easy. We have a 5-hour meeting, which is just insanity. And like this one-on-one 5-hour meeting. And he's just like, he just makes it so easy. I was ready to quit on the spot. And he's like, no, don't do it. And I was like, okay. So I like talked myself into staying for like less than 24 hours. And the next day I quit. The next day I quit, and I didn't have a plan. I had only had work half the month. So like I only had half month's salary because I got paid monthly. So I only had half month's salary. And I was like, well, that'll be enough to like pay my rent and like a little cushion. I could take 2 weeks. And so I gave myself 2 weeks. I had studied Reiki in like somewhere in my journey here, in my healing. I had studied Reiki just like randomly too. And the funny part is I studied it when I was in Port Townsend with a woman who lived in Santa Barbara.
Hmm.
So like, so I just, like everything is so funny. So anyways, so I'd study this and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll
It's
just
that
open a Reiki
synchronicity
practice.
they talk about.
Yeah. It's like, maybe I'll just open a Reiki practice. So in October, mid-October, just as promised, without hardly any to do, I reached out to one person. I was like, hey, I see your massage therapist. I haven't talked to her since college. I was like, hey, I see your massage therapist. Do you know anybody who's renting a room? She goes, we are. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was that. And then I opened my practice. And from that, I started to gain these very, very powerful experiences and started helping people heal, helping people have Kundalini awakenings and helping them navigate what those look like and giving them these powerful intuitive messages. and I started channeling soon after that. And in March, I got the I'm like driving Uber at the time too, just to supplement my income because starting a business is hard. And every person, yeah, and every person that
You're
I
doing what
drove,
you have to do.
oh
It
yeah,
sounds
and
like by all
yeah,
means
I would get up.
necessary.
Absolutely. I would get up at like 4:30 in the morning and with this, I basically woke up before the sun would rise to drive and I would drive until the sun set unless I had a client. I'd stop to do the client and then I'd take a nap and get back in the car. And so like I did everything I could do
Damn.
to make this work. Yeah.
How did you keep that? Because you have to be present. You have to be in the moment, and after a shift like that, and then to get right into some kind of work that is completely different. You're dealing with spirits. You're dealing with energy. You're dealing with all of that. That's pretty tough to kind of shift from one thing to the next.
Not at all. It was so natural for me, and I was so curious and so excited and just in love with my life. Even though it was like, I've lived a life where I have had no job. I've worked 3 to 4 jobs at a time. Like I've never lived an easy life. So like this type of life was most welcome, and I began each and every day with this little loop. As I would get in the car and I would start to drive, I would say, or sometimes before, I am everything and everything is me. I am the sun and the sun is me. I am the moon and the moon is me. I am the trees and the trees are me. I would say whatever I'd say. And sometimes I say, no, I'm the car and the car is me, et cetera, et cetera. And so I started driving in October. And by December, my guides were like, oh, you got to stop driving. And I was like, hell to the nah. I don't have any income. Like, I'm not doing that. And so I didn't. And March 11th, I was really, really, really sick. Like I started getting really sick after I ignored this. Okay, I started getting sick like a lot. And when you don't sit down, the universe sits you down. Okay, this is inevitable. So the universe started sitting me down, and I was just like, I am stubborn, and I will make this work. Because I wanted to make it work for my son. I wanted to be there for
Yeah.
him and have him have a place, and blah blah blah, and trying to make this dream work. And my guys were like, "You're not
Shut the
listening."
body down, and now you can't drive.
Yeah, essentially. And so like all these things kept happening and and here I was doing really well and then I was put in a spot where I was like not okay again monetarily and all of this. And so March comes along and I had lent my car to a friend, which I've shared a car with people hundreds of times in my life. Like I don't, like I've never had an issue with it. And he was just going 6 miles up the road and back. And I had promised that I'd help them drop their car off, him and his girl. And I was just like, I can't. I was in and out of the hospital at this point because I was just so sick. And I was like, I'm in too much pain. I can't. But feel free to take the car. Like I'll leave the keys in my mailbox. Just put them back when you're done. And it's just 6 miles up the road, what's going to happen. Well, he totaled my car. And this is like my first big girl car. I had a Lexus and it wasn't brand new, but it's new to me. I hadn't even had it a year. And this was my livelihood, Richard. This was my livelihood. I was driving, right. To like supplement my income. And I didn't have proper insurance to cover the gap. I didn't get gap insurance because I was like, I'm a really good driver. Like I don't need that. I didn't know what I didn't know till I knew it. And so I'm still paying this loan for a car I don't have. And so that was taken from me and I tried to make it work again. I tried to make it work again. And in March, I was also told I had to close my practice soon. And I was like, absolutely not, like no way.
Oh, wow. Did you have any kind of inkling inside of you that was putting two and two together? Like, I think this is happening because I rebelled against what I was being told.
Oh, no, no, no. I knew. But I also was like not living in faith. I was living in fear. I was
Oh,
still
got
living
you.
in
Got
fear.
you.
I was still trying to couple something together that wasn't meant for me. It was never meant for me. When I had made that choice, when you make a choice to do something, like you have to commit fully to it. And if you don't, like,
No half stepping.
no, no, no. And I was half stepping it. And so I didn't know that I was half stepping it, but I was. And so, things just kept falling apart. Things just kept falling apart and falling apart. And eventually I lost access to a car altogether and I had to stop driving. I had no income. I was hungry. The very little income that I have would just pay for my food. There would be days where I had $3 in my pocket. There would be days where I didn't eat. I had to go to, the St. Michael's church that was in my hometown and stand in line for hours, sit in line for hours, and I would cry every time I walked through because I would get canned food that like I would never have eaten before. Like, oh, I don't know what that food is, but now I was just like, oh my God, food. Like rice and beans. I would eat rice and beans. That's all I was eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I made them real spicy and real delicious so that they were exciting. But, I was just having water and rice and beans and not knowing what was going to happen. I was taking the bus and it would take like an hour to 2 hours to get, if I had a client, it would take like an hour to 2 hours to get to my client. Like my whole life was changing. And in this time, the man who I called my father, he's not my biological father, but he was the man who I called my father, passed away. And on July 4th, unexpectedly, it was not expected. I knew then that I had to commit to my path. Like I was like, okay, I have to commit. So in August, I met with my landlord and I gave up my place, not knowing where I was going to live. I gave myself 30 days to figure it out. And then randomly, a friend who I had helped out when she closed her practice, I shared my room with her for a little bit for free. I just let her just borrow it if she needed it for clients. She reached out to me. We hadn't talked in months. And she's like, is everything okay? And I was like, actually, no. Like, this is what's going on. And she had gone through a similar experience. She's like, why don't you just live with me? Like, I barely knew this chick. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's so weird, but that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, I had other places, but I couldn't bring my dog. And so I was like freaking out because I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to not have my dog with me. Like, how do I live like that? And she's gone through so much with me. Like, I can't give her up. She's my ride or die, man. Yeah, yes. So anyways, so I moved in with her and I knew I had to go to Costa Rica because when I had gotten that message about in Mexico, I had also gotten the message that I had to go to Costa Rica, and I had again missed my dog, so I went back to Santa Barbara and ignored it for 2 years. And that was really what kept knocking me off my path, was that I had to come here, and I didn't know I had to come here. I had no idea. So I finally, after my 38th birthday in November, I finally secured my ticket, not knowing. I was in Connecticut with a friend, and I was like, I'm just gonna buy my ticket. I'm just gonna buy my ticket. I'm gonna buy my return ticket. I don't know how I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I'm gonna get there. Like, I didn't have a lot of income at the time. Like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I have to go, and I just have to commit to this. So I just did it blind, like I usually do. Just like, I'm just gonna throw it all caution to the wind and just do it. So I did it. And right after Christmas, right before I left, I got confirmation that I could do this work trade and do that. And so I was planning on doing this work trade for 6 months to a year and then figuring out what I was going to do from there. Just going to ride the wind, see where it was taking me. It worked out for less than a month and I left and, hitched a ride here. Like, I had gotten this message that if someone invites you somewhere, you have to say yes. I was like, okay. And so a friend had come, he was a documentary filmmaker, and he had been doing a documentary film on the person that I was staying with. And he had come like randomly the same night was my last night there. And I was like, oh, I was going to go north. And he's like, oh, I'm going south. Do you want to ride? And I was like, yes, I have to say yes. Because that was the invitation. I have to say yes. So I take this ride. I never even heard of this place. I didn't know where Pavones was. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know why I was going. I just knew that I had to go. I didn't have any place to stay. I didn't nothing was solid. And there was a swell. And when there's a swell, like everything gets booked up. And so I was like, I don't even know. So I purchased his tent and I was able to find a camping spot. And I've been camping here, basically living outdoors for like months. And so I got here. And as soon as I got here, within 24 hours, a book started coming out in me. This is, I think, the most important part of the story, of my journey, which you've just gotten a bird's eye view, cat's eye, because that's not all that happened. But when you come here, when you come to Earth, when when your soul ignites the zygote, right? Because it is a light show. If you've ever seen it, it is an absolute light show. It actually lights up when you are born or when you are conceived. And when you enter into this world, you come here with a song in your heart. Is the best way that I can put this. And you come here with a song in your heart. And the song in your heart is the path you are to follow. And you can choose not to follow it, and your life can be limited. You can still succeed, but it would be limited to what you are trying to fit in. What are you trying, what you are trying to do, and ignoring your heart. So you could still be a millionaire, but you could have been much more if you had followed your heart, right? So your whole life is based on your willingness, you use your free will, your willingness to follow your heart and to listen to the song that has been written in your heart. And I have known my entire life that I was meant for something great. I was meant for something big. And it has become more clear to me as the time has been going on. Last year I started writing and posting on Instagram. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why I was doing it. I was just trying to find my voice. And my guides were like, just keep doing it. You just keep doing it. Just have faith. Just keep doing it. So I did. I have like 40 followers on my Instagram and like 12 followers on my writing channel. But I'm just, I just had to keep doing it, keep doing
What were
it.
you writing? Just anything that came to mind?
Spiritual stuff, really. Yeah. Like it sort of like went all over the place because I was like, I don't know if I want to write long articles, if I want to write educational articles, if I want to write like, what it's going to look like. And I stopped caring about what it's going to look like. I
just
just,
letting it pour out.
yeah. She's like, I'll just do whatever is clever. And so that's what I did. And they're like, just keep doing it, just keep going. And there'd be days where like, I don't know why I'm posting today. Like there's even like, if you look at my Instagram, like there's recordings where like, I don't know why I'm here. Let me just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and this beautiful message will come out. And I'm like, oh, that's why I'm here. And so like, there's a level of faith you have to have when you don't have to have it. You don't. You don't have to. But there is a level of faith that you have to have if you want to walk your path. You have to go all in. You have to know that no matter what happens, that no matter where you are in the unknown, that you will be caught and that you will get to where you need to go. There is, without a doubt, nothing that is stopping you from getting there. And this book is, like you said, it's going to be great or whatever you said earlier, right? You're like, I'm working on this knowing. I know that this book is going to be the catalyst to what I need to do, whether it is before I finish it, whether it's after I finish it, I don't know. But this book that I am writing is called When the Soul Begins. I was given the name before I started writing it. It was so random. Like I was just sitting at the fire at this other place I was living, and I wrote down When the Soul Begins. If you ever write a book, and then closed that notebook and never looked at it like for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Until I got here. And then the book started writing itself and I was like, oh, I have a title for this. They're like, yeah, you have a title for this. And so like I put the title on the page and just kept writing. And the book is basically lessons that I have learned over my life. Some of them are spiritual, some of them are cosmic politics, some of them are, like there is no good or bad or things like that. And some of them are, about my mom or my dad or, whatever it is. Banana ice cream is the name of one chapter. There's just like there's a whole bunch of different kinds of things, and each lesson is as they are. They're not really chapters, they're lessons as I'm calling them because they were lessons for me, so now they're lessons for you. Are no more than 400 words. There's like 100 something words. Maybe there's a couple less than that where they're just a few sentences. And they're at this moment in time, I have like 90-ish of those. I have about 30,000 words written, and I have to go to Guatemala next to finish this book. So that's where I'm headed. And
Were you told that by your guides, or this is just a choice on your?
yeah, no, they sat me down.
It's safe to say you're pretty much coasting when you're told to coast. You're not going or moving unless
I literally get up and
being led by the spirit.
all my entire day, every decision I make, everything that I do is being led by spirit. Every single thing I do. They're literally
Soul's purpose.
exactly like, oh, we've got to plug in here. Like literally if I am like going to the coffee shop, you know, like if I am eating breakfast, like if I am like whatever that is, however that is, the timing is not determined by me, but by my ability to tune in and be tuned in um, throughout this process. I'm so sorry, my battery's gonna die. We can't
No,
have
no,
that.
that's cool. That was cool
Um,
to see the whole shindig behind you, the whole get down.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool little
And
hangout
this
spot to unwind or to to get in the zone.
Well, where I am actually, Richard, is where the book was conceived. It was where my first chapter was
Right
written.
here,
So, yeah, right here in this little spot.
the sacred corner.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, it is scary when you walk your path. It is scary when you are called. And I know a few people who have answered their calling. I'm also working on a project back home where we are using a for-profit to help healers. So my friend is opening this. There'll be a soft launch in June, and we're hoping to franchise this. And essentially, what it is a tasting room. I don't know. He's got this whole deal worked out. Anyways, so it's this tasting room, and the tasting room is shared with healing space. So there's a yoga studio, there's Reiki healers, there's therapists, there's all of this stuff. And so like these people can interact, right? There's spaces interacting. And so
Oh,
this
that's
is
cool.
this is a prime example of and the for-profit will work for these healers. These healers will be taken care of. They don't have to worry about the making it happen. What's very interesting is, and what I think I like the most about it is that it embraces the dark and the light, right? The yin and the yang. And it really puts that message at the forefront of what it's doing. And I think so many people, when they're starting to recover from trauma and addiction, because so many of us have been through it, right? When they're starting to recover from trauma and addiction, the hardest thing to let go of is shame and guilt. It is the darkest demon, it is the heaviest demon, it is the loudest demon within you. And it can drive you for years until you learn that you don't need it. That is a maladaptive, like it's maladaptive. Like it is of course part of the human experience, but like it's maladaptive. It like there is no shame and guilt. There is no wrong or right. And having the space shared by those who are living to drink or still thinking about drinking or drinking, like you could drink if you want to be healed. Like those things are not one, like they're not exclusive. But like the fact that the space will be shared by those who are not yet healed and those who are seeking healing is the way of the future. It is the way of the future. It is the way of the future to understand that there is no soul that is unredeemable.
Hmm.
I am hoping that with my book and with my story to create a movement to change the world. I know this is what I meant to do, and I don't know how it looks yet, but I know that I will. You will get tired of hearing about me. You'll be like, "Oh, her. Oh,
You
what's she doing now?"
no, no, it's a great message, and it
Yeah.
sounds like you haven't had anything handed out to you. Everything
No.
you had to feel it on your bones physically, from broken bones to being
Yeah.
beaten, battered, bruised, knocked down, and still
Yeah.
with the light shining and with a soul's purpose to be doing something for the, we'll just say, for the betterment of all of
The
us, for
world.
humanity.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
That's a lot to go through, physically, emotionally, spiritually. For you, what were like some key components to help with your healing? Because I've read, I've been reading lately. I've really gotten into breath work, and man, that's been an amazing addition to my life and practice. And it's something that I'm doing more than once a day. Like I don't even need to. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, here we go again. I mean, I'm
for
seeking out
sure.
some time when I have some free time, and all right, I'm going to go here in the corner and I'm going to get a good 30-minute session in right now.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I've also been reading a book about, it's talking a lot about the way that we carry trauma and how it gets to the deep
Mhm.
tissues
Yeah,
in the
the
body and
body
how it
keeps score.
affects,
Yes,
right, the
yes,
somatic
yes.
symptoms,
Mhm.
psychosomatic symptoms, all of that.
Mhm.
So for you, what were some key components to help with the healing process?
Yeah,
You mentioned
so
Reiki.
the Reiki, yep, mhm. So, the interesting thing about the human body is that it is, self-healing,
Yeah.
and the things.
The innate healing ability.
Mhm, mhm, and that we are able to rewire the conversations in our body just by meditating, by ingesting the plants that were given to us by Mother Earth. Like, we are able to heal everything with everything that we have. So when it came to me healing my trauma, it was a determination to my path, to the integrity to my path and what I chose that kept me going. But also, EMDR really helped me. EMDR therapy was
Okay.
so crucial to what I experienced and understanding the addiction cycle, like understanding what the addiction cycle was, because being in an abusive relationship is addicting. Maladaptive behaviors are addicting. You don't have to have a substance in your life to have addiction, right? Like it doesn't have to look like, a substance. It could be food, it could be sex, it could be OCD, it could be anxiety, it could be depression. Like these things you hold on to
Right.
and your body holds on to. Your body aches for homeostasis. Okay. And so when you are not in a state of
Yeah.
homeostasis, when you are holding this energy in your body, the unexpressed emotion is what trauma is, like when you're holding that unexpressed emotion in your body, you're harming yourself. And so what your body tries to do to make up for that,
You're not allowing that whole energy to
right?
flow through and go through its
Right.
cycle so you can
Yeah.
release it and
This is what
not hold
causes
it.
disease.
Yeah.
And so I know this might sound silly, but you just have to want to. You just have to want to. I have been led over and over again. Even just recently, had to let go of a few more things. And like every time that they're like, okay, you got to let go of this stuff. And I'm like, okay. Because when you
Travel
let go
light.
of things, yeah. When you let go of things, new things are able to come in. And that's your connection to all things. The theory of detachment, the Buddhist practice, right? When you are able to let go of your attachments to whatever happened to whatever your experience is, and just see that things are, they just are, you are able to connect to the higher realms. You are able to connect to deeper parts within yourself. You're able to connect to people. You're able to connect to animals. You're able to connect to all things because you are remembering the original conversation that you came here having and that got taken from you. The original language, the original conversation. And so I had to learn to lean in. I used to get nightmares every single night. Every single night I'd have nightmares I would wake up sweating, I'd wake up crying, I had sleep paralysis, it was terrible. I never wanted to sleep, and I didn't for like a long time. And I had to learn that to get rid of my nightmares, I was given this. I don't remember how old I was, but I was given this, like, if you want to get rid of your nightmares, I think I was in my early 30s, you just have to turn around and face it. And I was like, oh, all right. And I could lucid dream at this point. I had taught myself to lucid dream to like change the channel of my nightmares, but I was just like going from one to the next, And I taught
Hmm.
myself that in high school because I was like so tired of waking up sweating and scared. So I read this book at the library because the internet wasn't really like cool back then. So I read this book at the library and it's like, how do I lucid dream? Like that'll get rid of my nightmares. I started meditating, I started doing all these things. And they're like, just write something and put it under your pillow that you want to dream about. And I was like, okay. So at the time I had this crush on this boy named John. So I put John, obviously like I'm a teenage girl. And so I put John underneath my pillow and I go to sleep. And I didn't dream about John, but I did end up lucid dreaming that night. I did because I wanted to. Because I wanted to. That's the thing about your healing, is if you want to, you will. When you ask the universe, your guides, whatever you want to call, when you ask them, hey, I really want to heal this, the notion that all energy isn't working for you, isn't trying to help you and work in
Yeah.
synchronicity is quite incorrect. Everything is conspiring to help you because that is, as we spoke about, synergistic. Everything helps everything. We are part of everything. So that parking spot, if you're like, oh man, I really don't want to park that far away. And then you get that parking spot. That isn't just luck. That isn't just coincidence. That is because you put that out there. And
Hmm.
if you say, listen, I am sick and freaking tired of not having any money. What do I got to do? Those things will heal. You have to remember to lean in because it hurts to heal. It is not a pleasant experience. It is not something to undo the level of harms that came to your heart is not an easy path, and most people give up and they stay comfortable in their harms. Most people do not persevere. But I am here to tell you, you could listen or not, but I am here to tell you that leaning in is the bravest thing you can do. And I know for sure that if you have experienced trauma and you've experienced people more than once that have tried to take from you, then I know for a fact that you have a beautiful heart because you believe in the goodness of people. And if you didn't believe in the goodness of people, you wouldn't continue to get hurt like that. And even if people are going to harm you, because they are, that's what people do. That's that we get to be shitty and we get to be lovely. Like that's what being human is. And even if people harm you, I implore you, you don't have to be attached, but I implore you to learn detachment and to be kind anyways, to be compassionate anyways, to give that love anyways, because that is the way the world changes. That is the only way the world is going to change. Is if we see a human struggling and they're lashing out at us, like road rage or at the grocery store, whatever. People are going nuts these days. So if someone's coming at you real hard, you just look at them and you say, I'm really sorry you're experiencing that. I hope you have a really good day, and I'll think about you. Or you just let them do it and you move on with your day. You don't take it with you, but you don't answer it back. You don't answer it back with anything but love and kindness, because the real pandemic or epidemic in the world is that there are so many of us who don't know what true love is. And I'm not talking about like intimate love. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about love that doesn't cage someone, love that doesn't ask for anything, love that exists because you exist. It's the acceptance that everything is just as it should be, and to allow each person that existence is how we change, is how we change people, it's how we change lives. If we always see a criminal as a criminal, they're always going to be a criminal. If we always see a sick person as a sick person, they're always going to be a sick person.
I've that reminds me of, just to step in real fast, but when you said that, when you see every criminal, when you see this person as a criminal, they are going to be a criminal. But that reminds me of stories and people's testimonies that I've heard before, and they talk about the life that they led, which was really a life of destruction and just doing things out of anger, spite, and just living a reckless life. But they recall times in their
Mhm.
life or a moment in their life when somebody actually seen something different in them, and that kind of changed their reality inside. And from there, they started to inwardly, make different decisions, different choices, and eventually that
The
snowballed
spark.
effect. Yeah, that snowballed effect into something where they're a changed man or a changed woman, and that was because somebody's seen something other than what they've been told their whole life they were, and they were just acting it out because that's what they knew. And you get locked
That's the
into that
narrative they knew. Yeah.
breaking condition.
Yeah, that's how powerful we are. We can change our realities just because we want to. Just because we say, "Listen, I want to be comfortable in life. I want to have friends. I want to own a business. I want to start a podcast. I want to go to Costa Rica. Whatever's clever, man. Like your
Yeah,
reality is all up to you. And the way that we are able to shape the world is to believe in ourselves and believe in ourselves wholeheartedly without doubt, and to believe in others wholeheartedly without doubt, because eventually that love that we give others is going to change them. It's going to change them. If we were like I talk about like schizophrenia is something that I think is a really interesting thing, and I can go on about that, but I'll just be quick about it. But schizophrenia is really people who have disassociated from reality and are living in the other realms, in the higher realms, and they no longer understand how to ground themselves. And these people are actually very, very skilled and very talented people. Like in the past, they were like oracles, right? They're very, very connected. And this can happen because of plant medicine, because of abuse. Like these things can happen for different reasons. But these people, instead of embracing them and allowing them to be the wisdom keepers and the oracles that they are, we are letting them be homeless and hungry, right? We are choosing to see broken people as always broken, and until we stop doing that, we are going to have a disconnected society. And before I leave this earth, I will have made an impact on that. I will have made an impact on that because we are all one. There's no denying that science proves this. We are all one. And yes, we are individuals. We have our own expression. Of course, that's the cool part, right? Like you get to do you and I get to do me, and that's fucking cool. But we are all one.
yeah,
And for me to think that harming you isn't going to harm me is pure silliness. It's absolute silliness. If I'm harming you, I'm harming myself. Why would I do that? If I'm harming the earth, I'm harming myself. If I'm harming an animal, I'm harming myself, etc. Right? So that is the aim with my book. This is the launching point. This is the aim of these conversations, is to spread love in a way that we haven't tried yet, and have a conversation that I think, ready to have. I think society is ready for an answer. We're all feeling a bit lost and confused with the politics and the climate of things, and we don't know how to move forward. We don't know where to go, and we feel very overwhelmed, and we feel very bulldozed and sort of pigeonholed into this way of life, into this way of thinking and feeling, and we're all sort of waking up. And so this is the time to have these conversations, and I'm going to change the climate.
that's right. One spark at a time. It was interesting how you spoke earlier, and you mentioned that we're each born into this world with this song, but through the dance of life, sometimes it gets quieted. We either ignore it, we
Mhm,
it's
mhm,
silenced from just all of the outside noise and everything. Now, how do you think
mhm.
one can get back to that song if they lost it throughout life? Because life's us sometimes.
Life be lifing.
We yeah. and that is fact.
For sure, my friend. When is I'm gonna ask you this question. I know you're interviewing me, but I'm gonna ask you a question. When is the last
Yeah, shoot
time
it.
when's the last time you danced?
Let's see. It probably was. I want to say probably today or yesterday. I'll just get groovy and loose and just move around at times when I feel like it. There's a song. Oh, actually, it probably no, not even probably. It was on the ride to, but I was sitting down, so I don't know if
Doesn't
it.
matter. You moved your body,
Yeah,
you're dancing. You
yeah,
counted it, I
get
count
silly.
it.
So I guess you can say pretty recent. Not that I'm any John Travolta cutting the rug up or anything, but I
No, no. You just gotta shake it, shake it.
I do the do.
So that's part of the path back. There's this interesting thing about music. So music, frequency, vibration, right? We are frequency, we are vibration. Our words are vibration, our bodies are vibration. Like we're just vibrating, like our cells just decided to collect to make us look like this, and that's cool.
Hmm.
And they're just vibrating, and that's how we're kept together by
Yeah.
pure frequency. So if you're not listening to music, if you're not dancing, if you're not going outside, you're not connecting to source. And it is until you make it a daily practice to connect to source in any of those ways, you are going to have a hard time healing. If you don't make it a priority to dance, if you don't make a priority to sing, to listen to music, to go hug a tree, to go swim in the ocean, whatever you can do, take care of your plants. Like if you live in the desert, like, go pick some nopal, like whatever it is that your climate is, go and do that. Because if you
Walk on
are
the
not
grass outside
exactly,
barefooted.
exactly grounding yourself, moving your body every single day with stretching and things like that, these are the very, very basics.
Speaking of that, barefooted with your feet to the ground and getting to source and reconnecting. You know what's funny is that I was listening to an interview, and these are old musicians, and one of the musicians was talking about how every time he would get in the studio with old funk players when they were recording in the studio barefooted. And so there was a time when
Yes, sir.
he's seen this happen once or twice, and he was asking. He mentioned like Rick James and a lot of other people, and so he was asking them like, "What's with the bare feet?" And then they told him the funk comes from the floor.
Yeah, it does.
So
It does.
they're saying it in their own way, but this is the vibration or just being connected
Mhm.
to source. You're barefooted, and now we have these shoes with the soles are so thick. There's
Mhm.
no way that there's
No.
we lost the
We
connection
did.
with.
We did. And I've been walking around
Yeah.
Costa Rica for months just barefoot. And I used to when I was a little kid walk around barefoot, and that's why I was so connected. I was always up a tree and I was always like touching nature and in nature. And as soon as I sort of closed myself off from that, over time, like became a recluse pretty much. Like as soon as I started closing myself off from that, like I started losing myself, and allowing myself to be lost. And so,
Mm.
go and garden, go and climb a tree, go and roll down a hill. Like I was on a walk a couple of years ago, and there was this really good hill. It was like a really good hill. And I was like, I really want to roll down it. And so I did.
You
It's
did
like,
it.
because why not?
Wow.
And I walked.
Even you have the condition. Was this before or after
This
the
is after. This is
shoulders?
after. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
After.
Yeah, yeah,
F
yeah.
it.
So yeah, because we forget to play, okay? As adults, we forget to play. We think we have to be so serious and that we can't play. Like if you see a jungle gym and you want to go climb on it, go climb on it. You don't have to have a kid. You don't
Do
have to be
it.
weird about it. Just go do it. Go swing on that swing.
Mhm.
Go see if you can go over the bar, like go get your jump rope. Go, with a basketball, whatever it is, but go and play and be silly and stop worrying. Worrying is limiting. Worrying literally blocks the energy of your conversation with source. It blocks the energy of things that are meant for you. So like if you're worrying about a friend, like, oh man, I'm really worried about like I'm a mother, so man, every now and again I'm like I'm really worried about my son, and I'm like, well, I'm actually getting in the way of what's best for him by worrying, because I am actively blocking the energy that is meant for him to get onto his path. And it might hurt. He might have to fall on his face, right? Like I had to fall on my face. for 35 years. I had to eat the
Yeah,
dirt for
yeah,
35 years, man, before I was like, oh, all right, I don't have to do that. That's cool. I could just do something else. So then I did. But
right.
like, if you're worrying about something, you're blocking what is meant for you. People are like, oh, I manifest all the time, but it's not coming through. Do you not do you because you're worried, because you're not in faith, because you're not willing to embrace the unknown. That's the secret. That's the secret is
And that could be
just
a
waking up.
scary thing going into the
Yeah,
unknown.
every day should
Surprise,
be an unknown.
surprise.
Yes, you should not really know what's going on at any point in any of your days. You should just be like living every day like, oh, this was a good day. Oh, we're walking this way now. Okay, cool. Like, oh, I feel like going to get a coffee. I'm gonna go get a coffee. Oh, cool. Oh, I have to go stop it and talk to that tree. Or I'm gonna go do that. That's how I live my days. And it is I never have a bad friggin' day, even when stuff goes wrong, because stuff goes wrong. I just found out like a family member stole all of my money, and I'm like working on becoming home. I'm
Oh
in another
no.
country with like nothing, I'm working on becoming home, and there's nothing I could do. Like it's already done, like there's nothing I could do. So I could sit and be sad about it. That'd
Man.
be easy, right? I could let it take me and knock me down, but like this is old hat, like I've alchemized worse than this, I have come out on the other side from worse than this, like whatever, man, I'll figure it out, and I am, it's all being figured out, but I have to wake up every day and choose. I think that's the important part is that you have to choose to want this. You have to choose to live this way. You have to choose to have faith.
Right.
You have to choose to have faith
The choice is
because
ours.
it is. You have free will. Like I know lots of miserable people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could do that too. You could totally do
Oh, we were
that.
in the city. We were in the city today, and we seen a lot of. If looks can tell a story, there was a lot of them walking to and from. We were joking around. I was telling my wife if I would get a euro for how many happy faces I've seen right now, how many euros you think I'd have in my
Well,
pocket?
you're in
I
Deutschland, which
probably
was
two
like
or
a
three.
serious place anyways. Like,
Yeah, but the thing about it today was the weather was nice.
oh, the sun
It
was
was
out.
yeah, the sun was out. It was
It's
beautiful. It
still.
was a bit you had that fresh breeze, but yeah, a lot of people they seem to they're wearing long faces, and I think that goes for a lot of places. There's a real sense of disconnection,
Mm,
especially nowadays, because it's so easy to disconnect and reconnect into this technology, and it's disconnecting us from everything else, from life that's happening around us, our environment,
mm-hmm.
the trees, the birds, nature, the ocean, the water.
The real thing is to connect to nature, and then we can start to undo our the way that we rely on information, the way that we're not meant to know the news. We're not meant to know what's going on in the towns around us. We're not meant to know that. There's a reason
Especially at all hours of the day.
oh my gosh, there's a reason that yeah, there's a reason that your heart hurts. There's a reason that your head swims. There's a reason that you're on edge, and it's all of this.
Information
It's too
overload.
much. Correct. Yeah. And and if we
Can't
really want to
process it.
take, yeah, if we really want to take back the world, it's so simple. Go dance, go listen to music, go touch the grass. Boom. Like, that's the beginning.
That's a
That's
quick
the
fix.
beginning. Yeah, yeah, it's just really simple. And and I'm not negating the efforts and the time that it takes to heal from trauma. When I first cut my parents off, for the first 2 years, I grieved who they never were, who I never had. The parents, it took me 2 years to grieve that. So when you begin to heal, do not compare yourself, compare and despair, first of all. Don't do that. But do not compare yourself to someone else's healing. Do not compare yourself to something you were able to heal through quickly and now this lesson's harder for you. Whatever, man, that's the way it's supposed to be. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. Everything is exactly how it's supposed to be all the time. All the time.
Mm,
And you are just a beautiful being. And you are a powerful being. And you have everything you need to be whole. You just have to decide to want to, Richard.
right on. That's a wonderful message. And you covered a whole lot. You took us on an adventure with just some of your story, the bird's eye view. But my goodness, I mean, nothing has been handed. You had to feel it on your bones. your spirit, your soul, your heart, and still with the message, still with the light. And something that I feel a lot of people struggle with when it comes to the trauma or addiction, and even myself with the addiction. And that's something that's been part of my process with working
Yeah,
out. But
I'm proud
now,
of you.
once you do, yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Once you say, let's say, separate from a toxic relationship, and you start to
Hmm.
work towards the healing. But some people, you did mention it a bit earlier, the trouble and the hard time that folks are having with forgiving themselves for allowing that to happen to them for so long. Or say if you've been using
Hmm.
and abusing for years, like the hurt that
Hmm.
you caused, the pain that you caused, and the relationships that
Yeah,
you
you
broke,
fucked other people's
right?
lives up
Yeah,
too.
so
Yep.
that the
Yep.
forgiving part of
Yep.
letting that go and moving forward. But also, you're taking accountability and responsibility for what you had to play, but
Mhm.
how to get past that and start forgiving yourself, because that's tough for a lot of people. I hear it. And like I said, that's something that I've struggled with for
Yeah.
quite some time.
Well, that's a great question, and I'm really glad you asked it. So let's not forget the word grace, right? We talk about the grace of God or the grace of the universe or whatever grace. Grace is such a beautiful word because we've been brought up in a world that loves to categorize. Like as humans, we like to have things in neat little boxes. And so we have this good and bad, this evil and righteous, right? And there really is no such thing. And there really is no such thing. Yes, I too, in my time of addiction to my trauma and my cycle, lost a lot of things. I hurt a lot of people. And that was part of my journey. And I had to really understand this on a deep level that the universe does not judge. The universe does not judge, it just observes. It sees that like let's talk about like Newton's law. For every action there's I forget which law it is, but for every action there's an equal or greater
Hmm.
reaction, right? So if you're going to harm people, you're going to lose those people. There's a natural consequence for
Cause and
everything that you
effect,
do.
yeah.
Correct. Correct. That's all it is. You were born into this world and you were given this path, and sometimes it's your parents, sometimes it's your community, whatever it is that traumatized you. Those are harms that you picked up from other people. In fact, our DNA, I think it's like 9 generations, our DNA is built in with trauma. Like it's built in with those stories that our ancestors have told themselves. That runs through us. And to undo that is not simple. It's not overnight, but to start to remember that it wasn't yours to begin with. That the reason that you caused those harms to other people, the reasons that you felt that way was because someone decided not to heal and to give it to you instead, right? Someone did not take the responsibility of their actions. They were not accountable for themselves. They did not understand their impact on the community around them. I know so many people who don't want to heal, and that's their choice. But I also had to realize that those stories that I was telling myself, like my perfectionism and my like the way I would react to people and the things that I would say that would come out of me like from fear and from guilt and shame, like I would just attack people, like if they were coming at me, I would attack them first or whatever, the silly things that you do. The lying that happens with addiction, especially, that's a really hard one, is because of the harm that was caused to you. So it is not your fault. It is not your fault that you were literally born into this world with shackles and weights that were pulling you to the ocean floor. And you are choosing to never forget this. If you are choosing to heal, you are choosing to unlock those things and swim to the top. And you have miles to go. And you have miles to go. And it is a beautiful thing. I think you have to remember how fucking cool you are for choosing to heal. How amazing it is that you are choosing that side of life, even though those people around you probably aren't. The people that you had to leave behind are choosing to stay shackled. That those harms that you caused, yeah, you gave them some shackles too. You added to their burden. But that is part of being human. There's this Buddhist saying that we get to, right? We get to wash the dishes. We get to eat our food. We get to make our bed. We get to be assholes as well. And it is a matter of choosing in the next moment who you want to be. Okay, you did that. It's in the past. Stop looking back. Every time you look back, you pick that scab. Every time you look back, you pick that wound and you say, "Oh, I like the way that hurts. I'm going to punish myself a little bit more for that thing I did to somebody." You're holding on to that because that's comfortable, because you're still feeling as though you're not worthy. You're still feeling as though you don't deserve something better, that you don't deserve love from someone, that you don't deserve money, that you don't deserve whatever it is, that you don't deserve to be yourself, to be who you are, that you're not good enough somehow. And that is a story that you have to stop telling yourself. And how you stop telling yourself takes time and it takes effort, and every person's path is unique. But if you remember that you are so cool for existing and that you are perfect just the way that you came, there are no mistakes when we are created. There are no mistakes when we are given our paths. You went through everything you went through so that you could give back to this planet in the way that you are meant to, with this podcast, with your own experiences in your own community, in your own way, right? Like, you are so, so amazing for choosing to heal those things. And if you continue to focus on lack, and if you continue to focus on hurt and pick your scabs, what are you going to do? You're going to continue to hurt. You're going to continue to feel that. You have to let those wounds heal. You have to let them be your past. I went through all of that, right? And I even debated doing this because I was like, well, I am not the sum of my harms. I am so much more than that. I am not the sum of my harms or the harms that I cause other people. That is just something that happened. Right?
Yeah, it's part of the experience. Yeah.
That's part of the experience, right? Just like, oh, today I really want chocolate cake, so I'm going to eat 2 slices, and tomorrow I really want fruit. Like,
Yeah.
that's just what it is. It's all about choices. So who you were yesterday, and Alan Watts talks about this. Every 5 seconds, you are somebody different.
Yeah.
You're regenerating constantly. You're regenerating
Such is
constantly.
nature, right? Just going through its
That's right.
cycles.
So allowing yourself to have the grace to be like, yep, fuck that up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sorry. If you can repair it, great. If not, that's the end of that chapter. And accepting that when a chapter ends, when a relationship ends, when a lesson is over, that that's the way it was meant to be. And to stop holding on to that too, to stop trying to make that work, stop knocking on that door. That door was closed so that you could open another one. That's your opportunity to grow, right? Every time you
Mm-hmm.
fuck up, that's the path. That is literally the universe saying, oh, you got to heal that, man, so that you can get to where you want to go. That's like the direction. That's your map. Don't forget that you are given the way. You have to look at it differently. You have to relate to it differently to know that
Yeah.
everything is an opportunity, even your screw ups. Mistakes are my favorite thing. When I make a mistake, I'm like, oh, all right, well, I guess I didn't heal that well enough.
Mm-hmm. Let's run
Let's
it back.
revisit that.
Run it back. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes
I hope
twice
that
or 3
helps.
times to stick.
Oh, 100 times sometimes, man. Like sometimes.
Tell me about it. No, that helped. That helps a lot, and I was glad. I was glad that you broke that down and you talked about your own experience, because that's an important factor to move on, and that's part of the process. That's part of the healing process, is forgiving others and also forgiving
Yeah.
yourself.
As people who experience trauma, we're it's generally easier for us to forgive others. Like once we've healed a little bit, like, okay, I can forgive them. But then we bear this burden on ourselves, like this martyrdom, essentially, like, oh, or this victimhood, this identity, our identities, like part of
Yeah.
connecting to and being connected is letting go of your identities. Here in this world, I'm a mother, I'm a whatever, I don't even I could go on and on. But that you really just are. Like I just am,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when you start to define, when you just like we're literally light in our bodies, right? As physics has proven this, right? We're literally light in our bodies. And if you try to define something other than what it is, you're trying to contain it, you're limiting it. So if you try to define yourself just as the sum of your harms, just as an addict, just as a father, just as a husband, you are literally limiting your reality. And so understanding that you are so much bigger than the 75, 80 years you have here on earth, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
remembering that joy, love, peace, that's it. Faith. those are the things that really matter. And anytime that you are oscillating from a place that isn't those places, it's time for you to recalibrate, my friend. Because every day you should be laughing. Every day you should be dancing and singing and enjoying yourself. And anytime anything bad happens, it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, well, that's just ridiculous. Like when I found out I had all of my assets were gone, I was like, oh man, didn't see that one coming.
Man, I can't say. Sometimes I'm getting sour over the littlest of things, so I'm not quite there yet. But
There's hope for you, friend. But that's the whole point. That's the whole point, is that just to become the observer, to become a neutral
yeah,
part, or
hmm
to become aware that you can only control your reactions, which like is all good and fine to know here, but to know it here in your
exactly.
heart is different.
Yeah,
And to know that you're going to come into these lessons for as long as you ask for them. The universe cannot give you a different life unless you ask for it. Just like asking for consent here in reality. Like, is it okay if I give you a hug? Is it okay, if you talk about this? Like, do you want to talk about it? Is that all right if I listen? Like, the universe can't give you anything you don't ask for. And sometimes that means like my
hmm
life got dismantled because I asked for something better.
So that sounds like closed mouths can't get fed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if you're like, oh, everything sucks, it's because it's just what you want.
Right.
And that's okay if that's what you want. But eventually, like, what's the saying? Like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and
Sick and
tired.
tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. And eventually it does get to that point. Like for you, you had that moment where you had
Yeah.
you said, I was thankful that my shoulder was broken to put me in a position to where I
Yeah.
finally can now realize deep down that it's time to start doing things differently. It's time to take it in another direction.
Yeah. And then once you begin to heal those things, then you get opened up to the world of spirituality, of all these different things, and then you begin to understand the world in a different
New
way.
possibilities, new
Yes.
potentials,
Yes,
everything.
yes. And you can start to talk about energy, and because everything is just energy. It's very simple. And then you can start to
Yeah,
understand the world in such a beautiful and better way. And then everyday things just like don't even matter. Like, you don't even think, like, when someone cuts me off in traffic. It's been a minute since I've been driving, but like I used to think when someone would cut me off in traffic,
hmm
like I would giggle. I'd be like, oh man, they really got to poop, like just the silliest things. You're like, oh, I guess that's what they got to
right.
do. You don't
Yeah,
even get
yeah.
bothered by it. You're just enjoying your song. You're just enjoying your thought. You're just enjoying whatever you're doing. And that is
That's
that
right.
is it. Never letting anybody take your peace.
hmm
And not as like something you have to protect or something that you have to defend, but just to realize that once you let someone take your peace, you're giving power to it. You're giving power to your emotion. You're giving
Yeah,
power to a person. You're giving power to a situation. And I'm sorry, but you're the only one in charge of you.
that's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're your boss, man. And to put it on anybody
We're the
else,
captain of our own ship.
that's for sure. That is for sure. I have really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it's been refreshing to hear on a whole lot of different aspects because this is right up my alley, especially with just
Yeah,
the way that I've been taking my own life in general. And I think a lot of people would be able to take some great nuggets away from it, whether it's
I
having to
hope
do with
so.
your own healing, whether it's having to do with dealing with trauma, whether it's having to deal with getting back to that spiritual side of us, to get
Mhm.
away from everything that's going to pull you away from it and try to not even figure out, but just to get back to that song that
Yeah,
we had once upon a time. And
that's
that
right.
is touching nature, that is exploring the outdoors, that is breathing in the fresh air, that it's using that breath of life. Just a refreshing message all around. So I appreciate everything that you shared with us today, especially the down times, but also the good times and where you're at now and the plans that you have with this starter kit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting this going. I'm writing this book.
You're getting close to wrapping it up, or you're not even putting a time limit on it. You're just when it's done, it's done.
I know that I'll be done when I'm done.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to get in front of publishers by July. So that's my goal.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I am at the mercy of my faith and the energy that drives me and my everyday. So I just dance with the energy every day. I get up and I dance and I go to bed and I do it all over again. And also, I just want to say that anybody who's interested, I do take a few clients on to help people to return to their authentic self. So I do one-on-one coaching sessions and use energy work and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So I talk about the authentic self. Like if you can't tell, I'm very authentic. I'm just me, and it's a beautiful thing to be. And now you've kind of learned of my story and how I got there, and that it is possible for all beings to get there. So if you are interested in working with me, you can reach out through my Instagram and just send me a message and let me know. And I basically come up we have a little meeting, we talk for about an hour, and I get a sense of who you are and what your motivations are and all of that. And I basically put a plan together, a presentation together of what your healing is going to look like. And of course, that always, healing is not linear. So like the journey can look differently for everybody. There's some people who just need a couple of weeks, they're like, oh, I'm almost there, but I just need to get over this hump. And there's some people who are just beginning on their journey. And so my goal in life is to help as many people return to their authentic self as possible, because when we are vibrating in our energy and our truest selves, when we are vibrating on this frequency, right, and our authentic selves, we are impacting the world. We are healing the world. We are healing the earth. We are healing the people around us, and the impact that we are able to have within our own lives and with our own creations is so profound, and it's so much bigger. And so that is the true work. That is my true work. And so that's the aim with this book, is just to do it on a bigger scale. But I do love working with people one-on-one, and everything I can do online. I can do the energy healing online, wherever you're at, as long as you've got an internet connection, we're cool. So if you are interested, do hit me up, and I'll work with what you're able to afford, and what that looks like. And it is my goal to set you free. I don't want to see you for 4 years.
Dependence.
Yeah, then I'm not
I need.
then we're not setting you, my goal is to set you free. And so you have to be committed to being set free, and to not just being on the precipice, but to having that leap of faith. So if you want to take the leap of faith and return to yourself, I'm your gal. And if you want to support me in getting my Kickstarter for my book, what all the funds are going to, it's broken down on there if you want to take a look, but what the funds are going to are getting it in front of
Yeah.
editors, and designing and getting a website going and all sorts of other things. um, if I make my goal, or if I don't make my goal, this book is coming out one way or the other. So either it's getting published or self-published. Yeah,
Okay.
there's
Either
no
way.
stopping me. If you watch my video, I say this, I didn't come
Mm-hmm.
this far to come this far. So you cannot keep me down. The chat was the Japanese proverb, I think. I think it's a Japanese proverb, like fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Like people
Mm-hmm.
are trying to knock me down, my friend. It's so I just wear them down. Sorry, not sorry. But Richard, for real, I really enjoy what you're doing. I enjoy your messaging. I enjoy your energy. I'm super stoked to hear that you're choosing yourself, which is going to be great for your own lineage, for your own family, for your own crew and community. And I just want to encourage you, just to not give up, and to just lean in when it gets hard. You have to lean in harder. So just like that's when the
Mm-hmm.
breakthroughs happen. So please don't give up. I think you're so cool for
Oh
for
yeah, I'm
choosing
no
yourself.
stranger, no stranger to a good fight, so I'm all for it. Bite down on my
That's right.
mouthpiece.
That's right. We're
That's
scrappy.
right. Scrappy we are. That's right. Exactly. This has been a blast. Yeah, mine as well. It's been a pleasure to hear your whole journey, how you've evolved throughout time, how you
Yeah,
continue to evolve, how we all are evolving. Like you mentioned earlier, that every minute, every second, every hour, we are new people, and that we always have the ability, we can start today to rewrite our story and to take back authorship of
mhm,
this book that we're writing, our own book of life, and to lean into it.
for real, my friend. Well, thank you so much.
And Stephanie, all of the links, what you like included, the services you offer, the Kickstarter link that you shared with me, I'm going to include that in the show notes so people can have access to it. And I do wish you well in the rest of
Perfect.
your journey, your path, and you have a beautiful environment out there. How can you be mad at life with what I'm seeing behind you. So
Impossible, my friend. Well, I love you and I love
yeah,
everyone. Because I think everyone is dope. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to hear this. Just keep going and I'll follow you and your journey. I look forward to it.
likewise, blessings.
Getting back in touch to that song that Stephanie says we were born into, that each one of us has, but through time, because of life, circumstances, we lose it, we get disconnected from it. But one way, or some ways, we can find that song once again is getting back in touch with Mother Earth. The birds, the bees, hugging a tree, dancing, twirling, singing, marching, stomping your feet, expressing yourself through music, through dance, through movement, grounding yourself, barefoot, letting the grass touch your bare feet. Or how about to let the sun kiss your skin? We have technology for all of the advancements and all of the wonderful things that it can do, but we're still physical bodies. We still have emotions. We still have feelings. We still have intuition. We still have a heart. We have a spirit. We have soul. We have a creative energy that is running through us, that is flowing through us, only if we allow it room, space, and time to do so. So Stephanie was inviting us to get back to it, to get in touch with that inner song once more, to get back in touch with self. It's a call back to self. Everything that she had been through, she had to endure, the physical abuse, the emotional abuse, the trauma, the setbacks, the grief of loss, plans falling apart. But through that, finding the help that she needed. EMDR, a big factor for her and a game changer. She got reconnected with who she was. As a matter of fact, she's had that from an early age and was always mocked for it, ridiculed for it, bullied because of it. But she still has her light. She's trailblazing the way. She's forging her own path. And she's helping others while creating and living the life she knows is true to who she is. Stephanie is a prime example of being the change you wish to see. When the soul begins, a headline on one of her web pages says, "Igniting the soul of human evolution, one awakening at a time." If you guys are interested in learning more about what Stephanie's about, what she offers, the project that she's now involved with, you can find all of her information in the show notes. Stephanie, I want to thank you again for your time, for your energy, for your light, and for your good work. You are a giant amongst us. And a big thank you, as always, to everybody who tunes in, sharing some of your time with us, listening to these stories. Appreciate you all. Want to wish you all a great rest of the week. And you know you can reach out to us to let us know anything that's on your mind, where you're listening from, how you're listening to the show, what has struck a chord with you, or something in particular that resonated with you. It's always great to hear back from you. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Reddit. You can find us on YouTube. And of course, we have the webpage, giantsamongstus.org. That's giantsamongstus.org. You guys be safe out there. Be sane out there. Be kind to a stranger. We're going to catch up and do this again real soon. Before I wrap it up and before the sun sets on my side of the fence, I want to remind you that if you would like to be a part of the show and share your story, or even a story of someone in your life that has impacted you in a positive way, you can always reach out to us via email. I'd be happy to connect. Until next time, and very soon, peace.
I'm looking for a sign to know I'm on the right road. Ain't seen no sign since Jericho.